Hi, in this video we're going to talk about amplitude and vertical shifts of the sine and cosine functions. And just as a reminder, something we did today in class is I showed you what would happen when you made your circle smaller or larger, that it does affect the curve itself. Notice that the numbers out here in front of the sine t function is a 60. So as I graph this function, notice that the height of the graph goes up to 60 and the minimum value is negative 60. And as we said in class, this is called the amplitude. The amplitude is never negative. It's always a positive number because it's measuring distance, and distance is never negative. So again, I can slide this bar down to 30, and now we will all see that the maximum height here is at 30 and the minimum height, or the minimum, is at negative 30. So that's exactly how the amplitude affects the curve. And the same is true for the sine curve, the cosine curve. Again, if I were just to move this around a little bit and start it, the amplitude is at 35. So the cosine starts at its maximum point, which is at 35, and then it dips down to negative 35. And that is amplitude. First thing we're going to do is, again, here's the notes that we took in class. We're going to take a look at vertical shifts in this homework. This is from your homework on Trig worksheet 4, and we're going to do this one. Now, this one has the -1 in the front. You could easily write this as the cosine of theta minus 1, which means that the bar, the horizontal bar there, is shifted down 1. And we're going to graph the cosine curve using this as our reference bar now instead of the x-axis. We know that the cosine curve starts at its maximum point, which is 1 unit above the curve. In this case, we know it's 1 because the amplitude is 1. So I'm going to go starting here. At our first quadrantal point, we're back down to 0. At our next one, we're dipping down 1 below that bar, again because our amplitude is 1, and then back up. And this is one complete cycle of the cosine curve, and you can keep going on this pattern. You don't have to stop here, and then you would just simply connect your points. So this one is very similar. We're going to raise that bar to 2 because the vertical shift, the +2, just simply means we're going to raise it up. And now again, we're going to start this cosine curve at its maximum point. Its amplitude is 1, so it's only going to go 1 unit above the bar, and then come back down at 90, go 1 unit below the bar, and then back up here at 0, and you always end where you started. So we started at 3, we end at 3. That's one complete cycle, but you don't have to stop there. You can keep going on this curve and then connect your points. Let's take a look at another one. Right, this one deals with the amplitude is 1/2, which means that the maximum height of this curve is going to be 1/2 unit above and below the x-axis because there is no vertical shift here. There is no plus or minus number out here. So the sine curve always starts at 0, and then it's going to go up to its maximum height, which is 1/2, back down to 0, and then it's going to hit its minimum point at -1/2, and then back up to 0. And that completes one cycle of the sine curve. Again, you can keep going with this pattern, and then you have 1.5 cycles. Let's take a look at the next one. This is question number 19. Again, it's dealing with amplitude. The amplitude on this one is 2. We know that the cosine curve starts at its maximum point, so it's going to start here at 2. There is no vertical shift because, once again, you don't have any plus or minuses out here. Then it's going to dip down to 0, and then to its minimum point at -2, back up to 0, and then back up here at 2. And again, you just would then connect those points to get a smooth curve. For sine x, sine always starts at 0. Its maximum point this time is 4, and it goes back down to 0. The minimum point on the curve is at -4, and then back up to 0. And then you would just simply sketch. You can see why now I haven't sketched all my curves, because I don't do a very good job with this instrument. Alright, now let's just mix a few of these together. We have an amplitude of 4 and the bar has been lowered 2 units. So this x-axis has been lowered 2 units, and you can just draw it here. It's just kind of a reference. You don't have to do that, but I do that just simply because it's now easier to see where I should go on this graph. The sine always starts on the bar, or at 0 in the case where the amplitude, or excuse me, when there is no vertical shift. So I'm just going to start here at -2. It has an amplitude of 4, so it's going to go up 4 units from the bar, and then it's going to come back down, and now it's going to go 4 units down, 1, 2, 3, 4, from the bar. Again, that's going to be the minimum point, and then back up here. So again, you want to sketch this curve, and that's one complete cycle of the curve. Let's try number 22. Again, this time the bar has been raised to 2. The sine curve generally starts at the bar at 0, 2. It's, once again, the amplitude here is 4, so I'm going to go up 4, back down, dip down 4 units from the bar, and then back up. And then you're going to connect those points. And the last question is 3 cosine theta plus 2. So that plus 2 means that we're going to draw a vertical bar, or excuse me, yes, a horizontal bar, I should say. It's a vertical shift, it's a horizontal bar. And we're going to start at the maximum point. Well, the maximum point is going to be 3 units above the bar. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, which puts us at 5. At the first quadrantal point, we're going to be back down here at 0, or at 2, I should say. It's 2 units above 0. And then we're going to dip down 3 units below the bar, which puts us right there. And then back up to the bar, and you always end where you started. And then there's a nice cosine curve. And that's how you graph functions with these types of translations. We will continue to work on different other translations in the next video.